which, you know, we've had quite a few, like I say, cases of actual
It's really interesting.
UFOs being seen at Rother Stage, Langland, Rother Stage.
Because I mean, obviously,
So yeah, it's quite interesting.
the reaction was, I thought, I know there's a big lake. I felt like
Everybody's on this saloon camera except me.
yeah, it was.
It's called UFO.
Yes, the Swansea UFO network.
Yeah, that's it.
Emlyn, they're going to come in and meet you too now.
Well, thanks. But yeah, well, we're here tonight, and it's really nice to meet so many like-minded people in one room at the same time.
It's not technically a room, it's more of a sort of marquee, it's quite nice.
It's a bit like a wedding.
The chandelier.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. But yeah, we're here, and you know, I'm really interested in what's been going on. I've read a little bit about you guys, and I know there seems to be quite a lot going on in Swansea. I don't know particularly why it is in Swansea, but you've obviously catalogued quite a lot of experiences and seen quite a lot of things. So, you know, what normally happens on a meeting like this? How often do you guys meet up, and what normally goes on when SUFON gets together?
Okay, well, we meet up monthly on the last Tuesday of every month. The amount that we have come into the venues varies quite a lot. Sometimes it's 20, and we've had as much as 65, 70 before now. All depends on who we got coming along and chatting. We have guest speakers. Some of them come quite considerable distances to give a talk to us. We had some big names in the UFO field come down to us. Now, we've only been running about a year and a half, and we really have had some good big names along.
What's your background, Steve? What is your...
My background?
Yeah.
Oh, perhaps I can tell you a little bit how the group came to be formed then.
Yeah.
I had my own sighting of a UFO back in, I think it was 1983. No, it was 1982. And I was standing halfway up Caswell Hill at about midnight-ish, a dark night, summer's night. I was with another person there. We happened to look up, and quite high up in the sky there was a silvery object which was stationary. And clearly it wasn't a helicopter, it was far too high for that. It was the height of a jet, but it wasn't moving, it was just stationary, which was really odd. So we paid attention to it for a little bit, and then eventually this thing just took off at a phenomenal rate of speed. I mean, faster than anything I've known before. And it clearly wasn't what I'd say of this planet. That's the feeling I got of it.
And did you think it could be anything that was, did it make a sound? Was there...
There was no sound whatsoever. As I say, it definitely wasn't a jet, it definitely wasn't a helicopter, so what does that leave, you know, if something stationary and moves off at a terrific vast rate of knots?
Well, yeah, we're here now. We finally managed to find you guys, and we're here for the meeting. So we know that stuff is happening here in Swansea, which is brilliant, because quite often you hear that it's in, you know, America or South America or parts of the world that are just impossible to access.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why we decided to concentrate on local cases, because we haven't got the facilities to go jetting around the world, you know. But you don't need to go jetting around the world because it's all happening in South Wales.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of one of the sort of more prominent cases that you guys have investigated or spoken about?
19th of January 1983, there was a very interesting spate of sightings right across the South Wales area. Around Swansea in particular that we've been hearing about. There's probably about 25 different witnesses in different places at the same time seeing very large triangular shaped craft, sometimes in twos or threes,
right,
sometimes single, sometimes as big as a car, sometimes as big as a football pitch, or bigger.
So close enough, because quite often when you see things in the sky you can't really get perspective and you can't really understand what sort of size they were, but you say people say these things were the size of a car. They were obviously coming in quite close.
Yeah, the car size one was that was just it moved very slowly just over a roof of a house.
Okay.
I found out about this. She came to our last meeting and told us about it, and we went to interview her the other day. She was in the street, two streets down the Beechwood Road, and well, you
so I was news to me that somebody had seen one in Long Oak, so it corroborates my story of what I saw. Yet an 18-inch craft triangular was not what I saw. It was hovering 40 feet above the pavement, so 10 feet above the house opposite me. So I watched it for 5 minutes, called family out. My stepfather and my sister, they saw it. They went back in, which was the weirdest thing anyway, and a lot of neighbours on the street were looking at it too. But I waited for it to go, and when it went, it just disappeared. I didn't see it disappear. You know, it was a very strange kind of.
Yeah.
No one else was on the street. But when you talk about this, you're trying to liken it to something that you can see. You know, the stigmas. It could have been a stealth bomb. You know, we all try to make sense out of what we're seeing,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I was trying to do. But there wasn't. You know.
And were you, without being too rude, never asked
I was 13.
I was going to say, so you'd be young. So, had other kids in school seen the same thing?
No, it was just myself at my house. I came out of the house. I was sitting in the back of the house. So, you know, as far as this tent is, you know, to the front door. And I just came out. There's no reason for me to get up. I just realised when I got to the front door, so why did I come out here? But then I see what I'm seeing and realise that is amazement. You know, you're amazed. You're just like, wow.
$64,000 question, Natalie. Did it make the chug, chug, chug?
No
noise?
chug noise, silence, a pressurised kind of, you know, like you want to pop your ears like that when you go in, you know, that feeling
Yeah.
of.
Like there's a heavy pressure around you.
But no, it's a very strange feeling actually, because there was no, it felt like I wanted to pop my ears, but it was like you could hear a pin drop. It was like this silence, this stillness. It was January, it should have been cold, didn't feel cold. No sound, you know, and again, in the
That's
papers,
true.
nothing, but I was looking at lights, and these lights that I was focusing on the whole time, which my sister, many years later, told me she thought it was a dream, what she saw. But she saw lights coming out of the circumference. Now I don't even remember a circumference, I just remember it being very black. You couldn't see the stars, so therefore there was I'm looking at the central part of it, which is protruding down, there's lights pulsing, very pastel-y, lovely kind of pulsating.
He said, well, when you spoke to that man, you put your hand on his heart. Was it natural or... I said, I don't know. He said, oh, right, okay. And I started telling him about the day. And I thought, this is rather strange. And he said to me, I don't need these glasses. And I said, why are you wearing them? He said, I don't look like this. Right. I said, what are you doing here? And he said, I've come to experience the evolution. I said, okay. And while you're here, I said, could you help other people? And he said, yes, okay. But it was a couple of weeks before this where I was having talks telepathically. And I went on to a ship. And it was a big, massive auditorium with all different different troops from all different planets, and they'd all come together for a meeting. And there was a big table in the middle with the High Council. And then we had a meeting about events that were happening on the planet, and they were talking about the changes that were going to happen with the people. I thought, to be honest, I was just imagining it. No one... When I'm having this telepathically and visually, there'd been a lot of very strange things that were happening, and I thought it was just my imagination. I got a very good imagination, but you're feeling it. You're talking. You're actually feeling, having a conversation with them.
So for these experiences,
also nuclear power stations have both sort of been reported as, you know, sort of magnets, I suppose.
yeah.
Whether there's some sort of energy, or they're observing, or refueling, if that's, you know, what you think it is.
Swapping stories and evidence and photographs. Is there any other way that you gather information, the Sufon group?
Well, one thing we do just to help people familiarise themselves with the night sky, we organise sky watches.
Okay.
Well, we go out in a location somewhere nice with a good view, with a flask of tea, and good conversations. And several overcoats.
Yeah.
Because it can get cold.
Yeah.
And we just look at the sky, and it's quite fun. We can see satellites, meteors.
Is that outside of
Planes.
Swansea or up the Swansea Valley? Or?
Well, tends to be down the Gower. We've got a bit of a dark sky.
Yeah.
Sometimes up the Swansea Valley or Brecon Beacons. It's quite good fun. And as I say, it helps us familiarise ourselves with what's visible in the sky, so we know what some people don't know what a satellite would look like, or the International Space Station.
I was going to ask, because we were on holiday with the family the other week down at Penally, which is near Tenby, I suppose. And we lay out in the lawn. So it was the night of the Perseid meteor shower. My son and myself just watching the stars start to appear one by one until the sky was black and the stars everywhere. And we counted, I think, 15 different satellites and different sort of
Yeah,
orbits.
it was very busy at that.
So do you think, to an untrained eye, to a person who didn't understand that you could see, I wouldn't have thought living in Cardiff, there's so much light pollution. You can see the International Space Station occasionally, but you can't see the other satellites. But in West Wales, they were very apparent. So if you're in a dark sky area of Swansea, could some UFO sightings be satellites, do you think?
Oh yeah, well, depends what you call a UFO sighting. A UFO sighting to somebody who doesn't understand what a satellite would look like would be a UFO sighting.
Yeah.
Because to them it's unidentified.
So is the night watch...
Basically, a satellite is a pinpoint of light, looks a bit like a star, travels across the sky in a straight line. If it suddenly stops, it goes backwards or backwards at an angle, or erratically and then goes straight upwards, it's obviously not a satellite.
So is the night watch then...